Amazon is totally focused on the customer. Jeff has made unbelievable strategic decisions that were highly criticized by Wall Street and other people that turn out to be, in the long term, the right decision for the company. Therefore, that spirit of customer centricity was, if you want, the fundamental of Lean from day one, right? Because, as you know, Lean is all about make sure that you don't do waste, and waste is defined as something that the customer will not pay for, something you're doing that makes no sense for the customer, right? Therefore, if I may say so, they were doing Lean without knowing Lean, right? And my role had perhaps been to articulate a little more some of the stuff we could do, but the spirit was there, which is in fact the most important thing when you deploy Lean. The fundamental was there, right? For example, the way that we would select how to send things, the way we would accelerate the picking for the customer, the way we would respect, and the technology would help us a lot, it was driven completely from that promise date, right? So everything was from the customer backwards, right? That was already built. And so that was easy. And if nobody called it Lean, that was fine, doesn't matter, right? Who cares about the name? In Lean, there is this fundamental trust in involving the blue-collar worker, the Gemba worker, the person that is on the shop floor, whatever is the shop floor, i.e. the person that is acting directly for the customer, involved into improvement and continuous improvement, Kaizen, etc. Right? That trust and that engagement, that was not something that was natural in Amazon, because Amazon was a technology company, right? And is a technology company. So there was a lot of thoughts that you could resolve everything with technology, right? And one of the things that I certainly worked a lot on was to say, well, yeah, we can resolve a lot of things, and you need very strong technology. But with that, you also need, and we will also need, always need, to involve very strongly our people on the line. Most industries are extremely wasteful. One which is famously wasteful is the book industry, the traditional book industry, not the new one. But the traditional book industry works that way. I mean, an author writes a book, some guy in New York or wherever in a publishing house decides if it's a good book or not, because he knows better, I guess. And then decides that this is going to be a great successful book, and I'm going to print a million copies. Or I don't know about these books, perhaps going to be not very successful, I'm going to bring 10,000 copies. And of course, there's no idea. They say they know, but nobody knows. And so the result of this practice is that in the United States, this number, about 40% of physical books printed are never read. 40% of waste. Of course, in the Lean world, this is just totally crazy, right? And it has to do with the batch thinking of printing 10,000 books, a million books, forecasting and all that stuff, right? Because Amazon has a much better understanding of the demand and a much faster way of turning inventories. Instead of 40% of books that are not read, Amazon returns about 4 to 5%. So we are 10% we're 10 times less than traditional retail, right? But even that's too much, right? So there is another thing we do, which is called print on demand. So you want a physical book, and it's not in print anymore. Well, now we have this thing called print on demand, which means that when you push the button and order the book, 4 hours later the book is shipped, printed, all assembled and shipped. It's pretty cool. That's the ultimate just in time. Perhaps the biggest challenge I see, and I have not completely cracked, is how do you use Lean management principle in the technology world? Software creation is a very, very complex thing. It's a very complex act of producing. There are opportunities for defects are enormous. And software engineers have not yet been able to completely apply the concept of stop the line, of detecting the defects. They seem to be able to, at the end, only, I mean, there is testing and stuff like this, but they often use the customer as a beta tester. I mean, I hate that concept of beta testing, which is more or less here is a rough product, Mr. Customer, please help me to fix it, right? That is not a very industrial process, right? Imagine if we did that with cars. The next step for Amazon is really to work more with the manufacturers and begin to really, given the information we have, share it with some of the key suppliers and accelerate and eliminate waste between the factories and our fulfillment centers. And there is some stuff going on already with some companies of positioning, for example, Amazon fulfillment centers near or even inside the factories of some of our suppliers. And the fact of manufacturing some goods on the other side of the earth makes no sense from a lean point of view. And I think we're beginning to see some progress on that.